this before, but let it
EJ, talk
you
to
really
me.
that thing.
Might stumble a little, committed to all of my losses. I'm in pursuit of perfection. Disappointed in you. I can't lie, I'm disappointed. Breadwinner dawn, no way you could visit. We can't issue strict orders of protection. Breadwinner business, don't get it bent. Breadwinner ministry of defense had a lot of respect for you. I don't respect it. Emotionally, I'm intelligent. Dissect heartbreak for the lesson. Standing up tall, built for it all. Audible, alternative perspective. Sometimes rejection only be protection. Sometimes disguise itself as projection. Internal issues I am not addressing. Whoever don't want me, I am not stressing. I do not judge, baby. I'm a blessing. Blessings on your journey. Find something better. I ain't gonna lie, look blowing high in the outside, baby. I'm texting you or die trying to find you something better. Anything wrong, I make it look better. Anything wrong, I make it look better. Entertain clowns, you become a peasant. Greatness, I'm known, respect is on heavy. You don't feel worthy standing in my presence. Take it up with God, you are not special. My frequency living in my authenticity, exhibited vulnerability. Calling the spirit of the jaguar, chasing out negative energy. Take a little glance in the mirror. So what they got into me? Leveled up, now they be looking up. Can never say I am not genuine. You had my attention, renewed ambition, focus, no longer interested. Don't ask what the feelings, with hell of a feeling when I'm peeling off from the dealership. Right hand to God, I am the Lamb of God. Know who you dealing with. Update lately, I've been updated. My bitch up in rank, I've been updating. Optimus Prime, I've been upgraded. Name whole weight, I've been up lately, working out daily. Body transformation, gaining self-worth, treat myself safe, gave myself grace, working on patience. People saying, wait, they go Kevin Gates, accepted every win, same as my defeats. Weathered every storm I done never faced. Safe to say, I don't even want to say it. I'm a living legend, I became amazing. Interviews streaming, going up daily. I am iconic, I am motivation. Think what you want, they do not phase me. I do not complain, know my occupation, been through it all. I'm a location, built for it all. I'm a big gangster. If you're going through something right now, I just want you to be encouraged. You know, don't lose hope, don't lose faith. You know what I'm saying? Adversity builds character.
Peace, y'all.
We're gonna weather every storm. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you feel like life's not making sense.
Peace, y'all. Come on in. Hope y'all don't mind a little music while we wait on some more people to get in here. I got some dope gems for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. New year, new gems, new chapters, new books. So we about to get into it. So with that being said, y'all like the live, share the live. You know, we got 8 people in here. Let's get 8 reposts going. And then we're going to get started here in just a second. Let me twist up my paper plane. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hit that repost button. We're going to get started in just a second. Sit tight.
That's when you know you're on the right path. Whenever you start losing friends, that's when your energy vibrating at a different level. They can't be around you no more. Isolation brings elevation. Isolation brings elevation. Isolation brings elevation. Elevation. And I picture you being crazy about me, want to be back with me again, and you love me and all that, but I'll never just take you.
Peace, Mother Nurture. Glad you can join us. Welcome. Hope all is well. Hey, what's happening, Swarthy? Peace. Thanks for the gift, fam. Thank y'all for the gifts.
Something that you told me found a way straight to my heart. It feels just like you've known me from another life, worlds apart.
Yeah, we about to get started. I got some gems for us today.
Fire in me, that burning desire in me. And I ain't used to feeling like this, but your love runs so deep. Ooh, the way you give good love to me is right on time. And I was just about to give on up, but you came right on time. And I was done, I was cool, fed up, but you came and you showed right up. Ooh, I need you in my life, your love is right on time. It's a fact, you're all that.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank y'all for the gifts, man.
I know it's real, what I feel. Can't nobody tell me that I'm wrong. Cause you put that fire in me, that that burning desire in me,
All
taking me to brand new places. I'm right where I wanna be.
All right. What's happening, y'all? What's happening? Y'all hit that repost button for your boy, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We about to get started here in just a second. Trying to get my paper plane together real quick. How everybody doing, though? How y'all Monday been? How everything been on y'all end? I hope everything been good. Hope everything been good. What's happening, Dark Mother? Peace, peace. What's happening, y'all? Y'all come on in. Come on in. Shout out to everybody. Okay. Hope everybody Monday been good. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all day been good. Hope it been vibing right. You did. I ain't really been on TikTok lately, so I don't really know what's been going on out here in these streets, man. I've been working. They done changed my schedule from night shift to second shift. Now I'm on first shift. So I'm just trying to get adjusted well. You know what I'm saying? I keep messing with my sleep schedule and shit, but it's all good though, man. It's all good. We're gonna get it in. So shout out to everybody that's in here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. There's 9 people in here. Just get 9 reposts popping off. Let's get 9 reposts popping off, and we're gonna get started here in just a second, y'all. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Let me get my shares out real quick. Libra gang, what's happening? Peace, peace, Libra. Libra in the building. Peace, y'all. Peace, peace. Let me get my shares out real quick. Let's see. I'm gonna get my shares out real quick, y'all. Y'all tap that screen. Y'all hit that repost button. All right, here we go. So, what's happening, Nisha? Peace, peace. So, just to get into it a little bit before we get to our reading, just to refresh everybody's mind. So today we're gonna pick up where we left off with last year, with Ladinos, Sephardics, Moors, Indians, Blackness and Latin in America. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna dive a little bit deeper. We're gonna talk about Esteban. What's that in Dirty Red? We're gonna talk about Esteban. We're gonna dive a little bit more deeper into what do they mean when they say Afro this, Afro indigenous, Afro. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna dive a little bit deeper. We'll tell y'all the backstory of Esteban, and a lot of other things, right? So what's that, Nick Real? So I got a dope book that I'm gonna break out to y'all here in a second, and we're gonna read a few pages from it. And everything like that. What's that, OG Tribe? Peace, peace. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Hope everybody feeling good. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I got planned for everybody today. So yeah. So that's kind of what I got planned for today. So, while we wait for some more people to get in here, y'all tap the screen, share the live. I need to hook up my other phone real quick, see if I'm able to hop on live on this profile again, because that they kind of banned me a little bit. So we're gonna see what's really popping. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Protect my energy. What's happening? Oh yeah, give me 1 second. Y'all roll it if y'all got it. Peace, y'all. Thank y'all for the gifts too. Thank y'all for the reposts. We got 30 people in here. Just get 30 reposts going real quick before we get started. Okay. Let's get 30 reposts going before we get started. Appreciate that. Y'all in for some nice gems. What's happening? April Love in the building. Shout out to all the new people. If y'all new to the page, y'all let me know that y'all new to the page inside the comments so I know how far to go with the live tonight. If y'all new to the page, let me know y'all new. Carly was heading. My roots, 1954 was good. Peace. All right, we got enough people in here. Okay, we about to go ahead and get started. So let me change my background because that's not what we talking about. I just had to, start off with a background. So if anybody want to get a screenshot, y'all can go ahead. This is the book that we diving back into. So we're going to refresh our memory before we get to the new book. All right. Y'all know how we do. We're going to refresh our memory before we get to the new book. So if y'all want to screenshot, go ahead and screenshot it real quick. This is what we diving into today. And everything like that. So shout out to everybody that's coming in. I'm trying to set up my other phone real quick. Hold on. Let's see if I'm still suspended real quick. Let me send that request. Nope, I'm still suspended, so I can't bring my other account up. It's all good, man. We're gonna rock out, man. We went too hard the other day, so I don't know how long my shit suspended because they said my live access is restored, but y'all know how TikTok be doing. So this is where we at, right? Blackness in Latin America and Caribbean. How many of y'all ever heard of this book? Right? How many of y'all ever heard of this book? Y'all let me know something real quick. All my OGs, I know y'all heard about it. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all heard about it. But, a lot of new folks in here. How many of y'all ever heard of this book? How many of y'all never heard of this book? You say you have not? Okay, first time seeing it. What's in it, Jazar? Zay said never. Okay, we're going to dive into it. So the reason why I bring this book out is so I can help people understand what, so the sole purpose of me bringing this book out is to help people understand what a so-called Afro-Indigenous person is. Bro, look like Young Thug on the cover. I'm dead. But the whole purpose of me bringing this out is so everybody can know what a so-called Afro-Indigenous person is, or Afro-American / African-American, et cetera, right? Because they do exist, right? I know, Afro's a hairstyle. We ain't talking about hairstyles. We ain't talking about descriptive terms, right? We talking about specific people mixing with another specific people, creating another specific people, right? So, yeah. So this is what we getting into, right? So better yet, let me just show y'all, right? Let me change my background real quick. All right, here we go, right here. Boom. So for those who's new to the live, for those who need a refresher on the live, this is what I'm talking about, right? It take one group of people that mix with another group of people to create another group of people. Okay. So what is this so-called Afro-Indigenous, right? Afro-American, right? What is, Afro-Venezuelan? You know what I'm saying? What is all of that about? Well, Afro or Afar or Al-Free, you know what I'm saying? It refers to Sephardics and Moors. Okay, Ladinos, Sephardics, Moors, Al-Free, Al-Far, Al-Fro. Okay, it refers to them, right? Indigenous, American, we already know American Indian, okay? So when you take a dark skinned Sephardic and Moor and you mix them with a copper colored Indian, you create a so-called Afro-Indigenous person. Or what I like about history is you create the first mestizo, right? And a lot of people don't understand that, probably don't know that, but if you do your genealogy, it'll definitely make sense. But a Sephardic Moor / American Indian creates your first mestizo, your first Afro-Latina, your first Afro-American, your first Afro-Mexican, you know what I'm saying? Your first Afro everything, okay? But it has to have this lineage. Now, a lot of us do have this lineage. A lot of us don't have this lineage, right? But one thing I do know is that the child who is a so-called Afro-Indigenous person is the child of an American Indian. So technically, the so-called Afro-American who is later called African American, the reason why that they're Indian is because their mother is Indian or they come from Indians, right? American Indian. Now, the other side of them, right, when they be trying to say the European and African, when we all know that the European and African is the same person, right? And we dive deeper into it, we learn that they Sephardics and Moors, okay? So the question is, what's in that Opa? So now the question is, where did all these pale skinned mestizos come from, right? Where did all these so-called pale skinned Indians, right? You know what I'm saying? Because historically it was looking like this. Okay? I'm telling you no lie, right? Historically, it was looking like this. All right. So now let me break down what a Ladino is for those who don't know, right? So a Ladino, are also labeled Negroes in history books, right? But Ladinos is a like Spanish speaking, acculturated Sephardic or more, right? It's just a Sephardic or more who's been Hispanicized or Latinized by the Romans, okay? The woman, of course, she's indigenous. The child is a mixed offspring of the two, which is what creates Afro-Indigenous. All right. Y'all with me so far? It's 48 people in here. Just get 48 reposts going. Everybody else, y'all with me so far? Anybody got any questions? Feel free to ask. I don't want to lose nobody. I'm breaking it down real quick for a lot of the new folks. And if you're new to the page, go ahead and hit that follow button so you be notified every time I go live. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all for tuning in. 216 in the building. What's happening? Okay. Okay. You said you do get it. Okay. Anybody else get it? What's happening, Lee? Anybody else understand? I don't want to lose nobody on this road. One person said they get it. Okay. So historically, right? Now I'm just saying historically, right? Historically, the Ladino is called African. Sometimes they're called European, but historically they're called African, right? But we're going to get into the book. So now most of y'all said y'all get it. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit, right? So we're going to do a quick, right? We're going to do a quick recap of what we already know so we can get into our new gym. So here's a chart, right? We're going to start off with the chart. What's saying, Zani? Right? So we're going to start off with the chart so everybody can understand, right? This is what they call blockionamento, right? Or whitening the races, right? And here's a chart, right? So At the bottom of the pyramid, as you see, right? Negro, Zambo, Indio. Right now, all of these are dark-skinned people and copper-colored people, right? Negro, Zambo, and Indio. All of these are dark-skinned people, okay? Now, when you mix the Negro, who is what we call Ladinos, with the Indio, you get a Zambo, right? When you get the Zambo and you mix them with another El Negro or Indian, right, you start getting into the mestizo or the mulatto range, right? Because mestizo, mulatto is pretty much the same thing, all right? From there, you start mixing them with YT people, all right? Anglo-Americans, white folks, right? That's when you start getting into the Blockio classes, right? And then you start getting to the white passing mestizos or quadroons or octoroons, right? So, what's happening, tar design, peace. So now, right? So now we did the chart. Now just go to the back of the book because I want to show y'all this. All right, so when you go to the back of the book, right, the index, okay, yeah, whitewash it. All right, so now when you go to the back of the book, which is the index, okay, we're going to zoom in on what I got circled. All right, we're going to zoom in. Now, when we zoom in on the index, it tells you right here, a Ladino is the African diaspora. So when people talk about this so-called African diaspora, you're not talking about a random Nigerian nigga, right? You're not talking about a random synagogue nigga or Gambina, right? You ain't talking about no Congolese nigga. You know what I'm saying? You ain't talking about none of these because for the most part in colonial times, none of those places existed. All right, so that's for one. In colonial times, a lot of those places didn't exist. Number two, in colonial times, that continent wasn't even called Africa, right? It was called Libya or Ethiopia. So if they was grabbing slaves from that continent, they would have been called Libyans or they would have been called Ethiopians because that's what the continent called, right? Now, the reason why they say it's the African diaspora is because in colonial times, there's a Roman province that's called Africa, right? A country, right? It's a country called Africa on this landmass that you now call Africa, right? And inside this Roman province, it inhabits Sephardics and Moors, okay? Sephardics and Moors, all right? Stay with me. So Ladinos are El Negros, right? Right? Ladinos are El Negros, right? African diaspora, all right? Everybody good? The live good? Can y'all hear me? Swarthy said that they got me on repeat. Are we straight? Let me spark my Sophia lettuce. We said it's good now. What's that, Monet? You can hear it sound good to you, good on your end. All right, it's good on everybody else end. Okay, cool, man. Y'all tap that screen. Y'all hit that repost. Y'all know how TikTok be doing your boy, right? They about to start kind of messing with the live because we diving into some deep shit. Lou, what's happening? Wow. All right. All right, so now let me read this to y'all. Okay, let me read this to y'all. So, he, in error, also named the inhabitants of an entire continent of diverse native people as Indio, okay, of the Indies, from which came from the French Indien and the German Indiener and the English Indian. The most common representation used today is, the most common representation used today in most of the world for the so-called Native Americans burdened by the crushing weight of the old world, okay? Columbus clearly, quote, marked the beginning of moral sanction, unquote, with his designation Indio. Not long after, Bartholomew Las Casas defended the humanity of the Indios, right? God-like people, right? Indio. And in so doing, recommended the massive importation of black Africans, Negro de Africa. You see what they call it first? We're going to stop right there. See, they call them Negro de Africa, right? Negroes of Africa. Just like over here in Brazil, they call them what? Negros de Terra, right? Negroes of the land in Brazil, okay? Big game with that one. But he recommended a mass importation of so-called black Africans. Like I said before, we not talking about continental Africans. We ain't talking about Nigerians. We ain't talking about none of that. We talking about Sephardics and Moors. Okay, a mass importation of Sephardics and Moors, aka black Africans, right? To take over the animal task. Here, therefore, related to the native inhabitants of the New World. The homogenic morality of YT power and Indio/black forces, right? Indio/black forces, subservience to the church, state, and secular holders of land. And people was established in early 16th century, 1500s, in Europe and the Americas. People was established in the early 16th century in Europe and the Americas. Walk on water was in it. But there are many, including black people of many origins. Whoa. Just stop right there. They said so-called black people of many origins. Notice black people is lowercase, adjective, right? Black people of many origins. Okay? So right there, we know that black people do not just originate from Africa, because they said many origins, meaning that these black people are coming from a lot of different places. Okay, not just Africa. They coming from Europe, they coming from the Pacific, they coming from the West Indies, and they coming from North Africa, right? The so-called black people of many origins, right? And even Asian, right? Asian Negroes, Asian black people, right? So now, who traveled far and wide in the New World? Okay, we quote here from a piece of fiction based upon archival documents to allow the reader to capture something of the flavor of such ventures in the early exploration and conquest of America. Listen, I am Estevan, a black man from Azamor in Morocco. Okay, Estevan. We're going to talk about Estevan, right? Estevan, the so-called black man of Azamor in Morocco, right? Estevan is a Moor. After completing necessary preparations on the 17th day of June, 1527, on Friday, we deported Spain in 5 ships. 600 we were, a few more or less, and except for the score or two who fell sick with the vomits and one lost at sea. It was a fair and easy voyage to the islands of St. Domingo, where we rested for 45 days, procuring provisions and horses. Okay? Listen. Estevan was a Ladino slave. Okay? Estevan, right? They said Estevan, right? A black man, right? Black people of many origins, okay? Estevan is a Ladino slave. For those who still confused about a Ladino, Ladinos are the forefathers of Latinos. Okay, you can't get a Latino without the Ladino. Okay, so Estevan, who is a black man, is a Ladino. The Ladino is the so-called African diaspora, but the problem with this African diaspora is that these people are coming from Spain in that Africa. We're going to keep reading though. So Estevan, a Ladino slave who classed as a Moor, then traveled by ship and on foot around the New World. Okay, I just want to read that because we're going to touch on Estevan here in a second. All right, we're going to touch on him in a second. But this is what I want to show a lot of people who's new here, right? So, like I was saying, okay, so the year 1992 did witness an upswing of serious research and publications on the subject of these volumes, okay? Though nothing came forth compared to the Foshi on the Europeans and quote-unquote disappearing Indians, unquote, an important complement of these volumes is the slim but powerful publication of the North American Congress on Latin America, aka the Black Americas. The Black Americas. Okay. Also, the editors of the Encyclopedia of the World Culture commissioned a few chapters on blackness in the Americas, including Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Brazil, for its volume of South America. Nonetheless, on the volume of 13 maps and culture areas with 456 peoples of South America presented, the only black people listed are the Saramancas of Suriname and not a single other African American culture community. Hold on. Whoa, I thought African American was only in North America. Hold on. I thought when they was using that African American shit, I thought that was only for us in the United States. They was calling people in South America African Americans too. Yes, they was. Because remember what I just told y'all, what a so-called African American is. Afro-American, African American, right? They like to say so-called African Americans are mixed with Indians and Africans and Europeans. But we just learned that the Europeans and Africans are the same damn people. Okay? So what really is a so-called African American? What is the culture of the community? All right, peep game. Or an ethnic group is mentioned in the legends or placed on the maps. Negrado is the Spanish term for this common phenomenon for leaving cultures of Black Americans off maps and out of history. Negreado is the Spanish term for this common phenomenon of leaving cultures of Black Americans off maps and out of history. It is a phenomenon receiving considerable attention among people of color in Latin America. A serious historic complement to our works is found in Race, Discourse, and the Origins of the Americas, published in 1995. What's that name, Mike? By the Smithsonian Institute. Okay. Although the book was part of the Smithsonian's program to commemorate the 1492 and the voyage of the Admiral of the Ocean Sea, and although it is rich in literature on African European and African American experiences in history. Now stop. What the fuck is the African European? Hold on. They said, although it is rich literature on the African European and the African American. African European and African American. I wonder what those African Europeans look like. Because we know what African Americans obviously look like. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know we ain't there, so y'all just bear with me. But I know what the African American look like. But what the fuck do the African European look like? All right. I told y'all about them. Let's keep going. All right. I told y'all about them. Let's keep going, though. Experiences in history. The foreword of Robert McCormick Adams, distinguished anthropologist and director of the Smithsonian Institute, fails to mention Africans or African Americans. Also in 1995, in the minority rights group in London brought forth No Longer Invisible, Afro-Latin Americans, today with commissioned essays on all nation states of Latin America. Reading this work, one is struck by the lack of attention in its chapters on contemporary people of African American descent, as well as the failure to comprehend self-liberation as a dramatic and enduring Afro-American enactment through the Americas. What is the Afro-American? What is the Afro-American? They said Afro-Latin, right? They said Afro-American. What is the who is the African American? Right? Can y'all still hear me? Mic check 1 2 1 2. The live still good? Right? Who is the Afro-American? Who is the African American? Who is the African American? Now, even though, look, I don't agree with a lot of things that the noble Drew Aliites be telling y'all, but one thing I do agree, right? One thing I do agree is the term Moorish American. Because the term Moorish American just changed into African American. Moorish American technically is a Ladino, right? Who's mixed with an American Indian, just like we read. There's a lot of different terminologies for the same people, right? Moorish American, Afro American, African American, Afro Indigenous, Mestizo, Mulatto, all talking about the same people. You either talking about a Moor or Sephardic Jew, or you talking about American Indian. But we also learned that the Sephardic and Moor was lumped up into the same category as the American Indian. And we also learned, right? Remember that document I brought out, Making Indians White, right? Remember that document, Making Indians White, that I brought out to y'all last year? It said that the so-called African blended in with the American Indian. Now, in order to blend in with the American Indian had to look like what? If they sitting here telling us in that document that the so-called African that we know are Ladino, Sephardics, and Moors, they said that they blended in with the American Indians. They said that the Sephardics and the Moors was indistinguishable from the so-called African American neighbors. So these Sephardics and Moors, or so-called Africans, are living inside the same village with American Indians, and they are indistinguishable from the African American neighbors. Now, we already know, just like I'm telling y'all, the reason why that the Sephardics and Moors is indistinguishable from the African American is because, like I'm showing you on my background, the African American is the child of the Indian and the Moor. Now, I don't agree with the term African American, right? We all already know, I know the history, I know misnomers, I know all of that, but for layman's terms, understand what I'm saying, right? And then we'll go back and dissect the shit. But right now, understand what I'm saying. The so-called African American or Afro American or Afro Indigenous are the children of this right here on my background. And they do exist. For people that be like, they don't, we're not Afro. Afro's a hairstyle. We're nothing but 100% Indian. Stop the cap. Show your genealogy. I bet you're not. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. And a lot of people inside the Indian community hate when I say that, but I don't give a fuck. Honestly, excuse my language, but I don't give a shit. I don't care what they don't like. I teach truth and integrity. If you are 100% Indian, show your genealogy. Everybody in your family tree better say Indian. The man, the women, the granddaddy, the everybody better say Indian on that bitch. I better not see now one European on that hoe. Because again, the European and the African is the same people, Sephardics and Moors. So your genealogy literally shows you this right here. Now, I'm not saying everybody got it, but I'm saying majority of us got it. That's all I'm saying. Right? What's happening, GG? Peace, peace. Now, I'm not saying everybody got it, but I'm saying majority of us got it. Hell, 47% of us got Irish and Scottish ancestors alone. I'm just being real. 47% of so-called Black Americans have Irish and Scottish ancestors. That's just that. We ain't talking about those who probably got Iberian and Spaniard and Italy and Sicilian ancestors. Some of y'all probably got Wales, Dutch. Some of y'all probably got all these different Sephardics and Moors from these different places that got kicked out of Europe. Okay? Let's keep going, though. Right? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. You said your great-great-grandfather Irish? Mine was too. My great-great-grandfather name was Solomon Dooley. He was 5'2", black Irishman with green eyes. He was a lumberjacker, and he had hell of a temper. He had hell of a temper, I'm telling you. Okay. So let's keep going though. Let's keep going. Cause hey, I got a book for y'all. I'm telling you. I got another book for y'all. You said, what about the French? You know, a lot of folks probably got French ancestors, you know, especially those who, you know, speak French Creole and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of folks probably got them Huguenot ancestors, you know. Sephardics and Moors was getting kicked out of Europe. You know what I'm saying? Europe. So you talking about French Moors or Huguenots, you talking about German Moors, you talking about Mauritanians and Algiers and Moroccans, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You talking about Sicilian Moors, Italian Moors, you talking about Corsica, you know what I'm saying? You talking about Ireland, Scotland Moors. You know what I'm saying? Sephardics and Moors was everywhere in Europe, and they all was getting exiled or kicked out or deported back to America. And that's the reason why I say deported back to America for a reason, but we ain't about to touch on that right now. So peak game though, let's keep going. Because now you're learning that the term Afro-American or African-American isn't just for the United States. Shout out to the FBA who think that, but it ain't just for the so-called American states or the United States, okay? Let's keep reading though. So indeed, when black soldiers, right? We already know who these black soldiers is, right? So when black soldiers, right, liberation began to rally around one of his black Haitian generals, he allegedly had the general shot. Cuba has long been the setting for dynamic African American ethnic bloc solidarity. Nah, real talk. Listen to what they just said. Cuba has long been the setting for dynamic African American ethnic bloc solidarity, meaning that Cuba is one of many places where so-called Black Americans can go for refuge, asylum. That's why Tupac auntie Assata Shakur ended up getting asylum in Cuba, because of Cuba's solidarity with Black Americans. Okay. But let's keep going though. So based upon the extent of social relationships symbolizing by African languages, especially Lukumi or the Yoruba, but we already know that the Yoruba are Arabs, so dodge that hijack with the African languages. We know that the Yoruba or the Yarub are Arabs from Mecca, peep gang, and religious brotherhoods such as Sateria, okay? We are not clear on such relationships in the 1900s, okay? We know that Black ethnic blocs in many parts of Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador are taking on the powerful rhetoric of Negritude in opposition to that nationalist mestize. In some areas of Colombia and Ecuador, those developing an ethnic bloc ideology of negritude and those developing an ethnic bloc ideology of autodetermination or indigeneity are discussing alliances between Black and indigenous people. Oh, gotta flip the page. They said alliances between so-called Black and indigenous. Okay. They said alliances. What's happening, Lilith? They said alliances between so-called Black and indigenous people. I keep trying to tell y'all the Moors wasn't your enemy. I keep saying, I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna keep saying it till somebody debunk me. The Moors ain't never been your enemy. Hold on, there's some dirty Moors over here. You need to learn the difference between Turks and Moors. I'm gonna keep saying that. Learn the difference between Turks and Moors. Turks aren't Moors. You guys are confusing Turks with Moors. Those are two different people. Now, Turks was enslaving you. Turks was fighting with the Indians and the Moors and all of that. Yeah, Turks. You know, little hat people, Caucasian, Turks and Mongolian, Siberian motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Them niggas was fighting you, because when you talk about Siberian population, and you can do this research behind me right now, you can type up what makes the Siberian population. It's going to tell you Turks, Slavs, Mongolians. When you look up Siberian population, it ain't just, Bruce Lee motherfuckers. Siberian population is 85% Slavic. 85% Slavic is the Siberian population. So most of your Siberians didn't look like Bruce Lee coming over here. They look like Bob. They look like Sarah Connor. You feel me? That's what they look like. You can even pull up the Siberian army and you're going to see hella YT people in that motherfucker. You're going to see like 3-4 Bruce Lee niggas in that bitch, but you're going to see hella YT people in that motherfucker. And you're going to see some black people in that bitch. I ain't telling you no lie. You can go research it up and come back to me. Right? Okay. You said Turks are Ottomans. North Africans, which were Ottomans too. No, North Africans were not Ottomans. You can't generalize everybody. You can't generalize everybody like that. North Africans weren't Ottomans. You just said the Ottomans were Turks. Turks and North Africa are two different places. Right? The North Africans had their own dynasties and their own kingdoms and their own armies and their own sultans and their own everything, their own language, their own religion and all that type of stuff. So, roll it if you got it, right? So they said Black and Indigenous alliances. This is the Black and Indigenous Alliance. Let's keep going. So now, the Black and Indigenous Alliance, all right? The Black and Indigenous Alliance. And so they was discussing the alliance between so-called Black and Indigenous people in opposition to the Mestizo Blanco, right? The Mestizo Blanco, or the white mestizos, barriers found in political economic affairs. In the Chuco state, formally petitioned the government of Colombia in 1989 to grant its legal status of an indigenous region. In Central America, especially Honduras and Nicaragua, one finds the phenomenon of the merger of indigenous and Black ethnic population. In Honduras and Nicaragua, one finds the phenomenon of the merger of indigenous and Ladino ethnic populations. People such as the Gufana, for an example, who speak Creolized Arawakan, the language of ancient Hispaniola, the Greater Antilles and part of the Guanans, Spanish and English, right? This is what Creolized Arawakan is, right? Arawakan language, Spanish and English mix, are usually identified as Afro-American languages. Ooh. Chat says Russia make up 70 to 80% of Siberian and indigenous Hold on. Chat says Russia makes up 70 to 80% of Siberians, and indigenous Siberians are Turks. Facts. Told you, Sean. Told you. Facts. Facts. I appreciate you for doing that research. See what I'm saying? See? When you talk about the invasion of the Siberians, you talking about white folks for real, honestly. Turks, Caucasians, Armenians, Georgians, you know what I'm saying? What's that, Rashida? But history won't everybody think that, these Bruce Lee niggas are the Siberians, just, so white people can hide. But let's keep going though. But listen to what they said. They said that these people who speak a Creolized Arawakan language are usually identified as Afro-American. We are in Honduras and Nicaragua. A lot of people think that Afro-American or African-American is just for the United States, the FBA, all that bullshit, but they don't read history books. Okay? But anyways, we're reading Blackness in Latin and Caribbean America. I'm refreshing everybody's memory because I got a new book that I'm about to bring out to everybody that talks about Estevan and some other stuff. So for an example, the mosquito from the English word musket of Nicaragua and Honduras may fiercely identify as indigenous people seeking indigenous self-determination. But they are classed in Nicaragua as indigenous when they appear Indian to the nationalist and ethnic, right? Listen, they said they are classed in Nicaragua as indigenous when they appear Indian to the nationalist and ethnic, when they resemble the Anglo-Caribbean Nicaraguan black people in the eyes of the dominant classifiers. Whoa, whoa, whoa. They said these people are Anglo-Caribbean Nicaraguan. Remember, Anglo, German, Germanic. So these are German, Caribbean, Nicaraguan black people. Okay, black people, right? But remember, earlier in the book, we said that it said that we're dealing with black people of many origins, right? Earlier in the book, it said we're dealing with so-called black people of many origins, all right? So in the eyes of the dominant classifiers, negritude is not generally respected in images held of Haiti by white and mestizo people living in the Spanish Caribbean and the adjacent Spanish Main and down the Andes of Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. We must stress that the negative racialist image of Haiti is confined to those self-identifying in the nationalist manner with various doctrines of mestizo that have the implicate of or explicit facet of blanqueamiento. Nor does the image of Haiti enjoy a positive ideological image in the dominating sectors of Anglo-Caribbean politics. Anglo-Caribbean politics. There go that Anglo again. Anglo-Caribbean politics, right? In the dominant sectors of Anglo-Caribbean politics, the concept of Haiti as a nation within the popular culture of these regions by those self-identifying as white or light includes the idea of impoverishment or improvement to the point of creating an island of infrahumans. It also contains the imagery of revolts out of control, of revolution not complete that could someday overwhelm the democracies of mainland South America. Democracies, huh? So it's a damn democracy when you erasing indigenousness, huh? Every time you erase the indigenous identity, democracy and Democrats is always around the corner. Am I wrong? Is Swarthy in here? Hey, Swarthy. Am I wrong, Swarthy? Every time we dealing with indigenous erasure, ain't the guy... every time we dealing with indigenous erasure, ain't democracy and Democrats always around the damn corner? Walter Plecker and all them niggas is Democrats. Real talk. Walter Plecker was Democrat. Frank Boas, Democrat. Melville Herstovich, Democrat. Woodrow Wilson, Democrat. The niggas that we was fighting in the 1800s, Democrats. You know, like, damn. And you fast forward it now, our people vote for the very people that erased their whole fucking identity. Our people is voting for the same people that erased our whole identity in the first place and still keeping it hidden. Right? All right. Let's keep going. All right. Let's keep going, right? Because they don't read facts. Indigenous erasure is diabolical. Bad look. I say, he said, nobody erased your identity. You are African, always have been, always will be. And you are white. You are a white European. Always have been, always will be. Oh, that boy got 2 followers and 1 following. You a whole troll account. TikTok sent you. TikTok sent you. TikTok, y'all gotta send some better people, man. Come on, y'all. Send me some better trolls, damn it. I deserve better trolls. I deserve better trolls, man. All these people who ain't doing what I'm doing, these niggas get all the dope trolls. These niggas be joining the panel, arguing with niggas and all that type of shit. I get these scary ass trolls with Twitter fingers and shit, man. Send me somebody, man. Send me somebody that at least got a book. Shit, stop sending me these scrubs. But anyway, you keep going though, y'all. You keep going. Because they just mad that history ain't about them. They mad that they are more European than they thought. Because as I'm reading to y'all and I'm showing and proving to y'all that in colonial America, it's very melanated, right? Ladinos, Moors, so-called black people, Indians, copper-colored. They have babies, copper-colored, dark skin. The natives and the white folks just mad because they wasn't here yet. 80% of them got here during Ellis Island, y'all. 80%, you can look this up. 80% of white America got here during Ellis Island. So who the fuck was in colonial times? The Siberians were still in Canada and Alaska. They haven't even migrated down. Shit, the Navajo made their way down in the 1400s. Damn. The more we dig, the more we learned that the reason why these niggas don't know shit because they just got here. The reason why they don't know shit because they just got here. Just keep reading, though, for those in the hallways. Okay? What's happening, Rob? Just keep reading for those in the hallways. So check it out. So the settlement began on the island of Hispaniola. Okay? African diaspora relations began in immediate moment after self-liberation. Yes, stop right there, because they said African diaspora, right? What is the African diaspora? Can y'all put it in the comments for me? I just want to make sure that y'all paying attention. They said the African diaspora. Who is the African What is the African diaspora, y'all? Who is the African? In this whole slave colonial story, who's the African? When they say African diaspora, who we talking about? Nah, we ain't talking about African diaspora. I'm asking, who is the African diaspora? Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. Just want to make sure that y'all on point. They said the African diaspora relations to the indigenous people. So even if motherfuckers coming in here talking about, well, you guys are African, you always are African. I mean, you calling me a Sephardic and a Moor. So for one, if you're calling me a Sephardic Jew, that means I'm the real Israelite. Okay, I'll take that. If you're calling me an African because of colonialness, you're calling me a Moor. Shit, Moors got rich history. I'll take that too. And guess what? Both of them come from America anyways. But we'll put a pin in that and leave that for later. But one thing they can't deny is the simple fact that indigenous blood runs prevalent in Black Americans. We are more closer to the ancient people than anybody else who's calling us Wabo, pretendians. The only reason why natives and pale people hate this information because it sheds light on who you really are. See, they didn't care when you was a so-called slave. They didn't care when you called yourself an African slave. They didn't care when you called yourself a nigger. They don't care when you call yourself a bitch. They don't give a fuck. You call yourself a thug. They don't care. But as soon as you start putting real niggas to it, right, nigga, I'm Sephardic, Moor, Indian, everybody lose their shit. Everybody lose their shit. Everybody start losing their shit. COINTELPRO document told you one of the hardest fights was for Black nationalists. A Black nationalist. A nationalist is somebody that's for nation and nationality. So a Black nationalist is so-called Black people fighting for a nationality. The same shit they took from you. Why you think people get mad when you start representing nations that you belong to? That means that they have to either honor those treaties or they creating treason. That's why. Either they have to honor those treaties because of who we are, or they gonna commit treason, which they have already done. They wasn't supposed to reclassify us. They wasn't supposed to break them treaties. They wasn't supposed to tax the Indians or the Sephardics or the Moors. They wasn't supposed to do none of this shit. They broke law first. So it's prevalent and imperative for us to turn up on that ass. We Indians, we Moors, we Sephardics, all that is true. All that's true. All of that is true. We ain't just Indians, y'all. We have a very diverse and rich history and ancestral ties. I'm keeping it all the way real with you. Some of us is Sephardics. Some of us is Moors. Some of us is Indians. Some of us is all. Your host is all. I just showed people my Moor ancestors. I just, like real talk, genealogy, census record, ancestors say Moor, right? And I told people the history because my granddaddy told me the history of his ancestor, right? They was POWs who got captured in Mauritania and they ended up in Germany. That's how he was born in Germany. That's why I got cousins and shit in Germany right now. So I just showed people my Moor ancestor. I just showed people the Indian ancestor. And then I done broke down my Irish ancestor, who is a Sephardic Jew, because you can tell by his name, Solomon. Solomon Dooley. Safford eyes have that name. Solomon. Shit, my ancestry is all three. Just like I'm breaking it down to you. It is facts. There is some of us who got all three. Some of us got all two. You know, and if you only strictly Indian, hey, talk to me on the back end, because I want to know where your family was living at. Because they had to be isolated like the goddamn Andaman Islanders and the Jawa tribe and shit, right? You got to be isolated. That's how they stayed pure. I'm just being real. That's how they stayed pure. They was isolated and they was like, fuck no, nigga. That ain't really the case for us in Mississippians, West Indians, though. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay, though. It's hella okay. So let's get back, right? So let's get back to it, though. So they said African diaspora, which we know are Ladinos and Sephardics and Moors, right? Let's keep going. So the relations of intermittent moment of self-liberation. So the Ladinos was trying to self-liberate themselves. Why? Because most of the Ladinos were slaves, prisoners of war. With the fleet of Governor Alvarado bounded for Hispaniola in 1502 to revigorate the flattering colony that Columbus had left behind the previous year, sailed, quote, a few Negroes brought out by their masters, unquote. Among them was the first Afro-American maroon. Ooh. You said, bro is ignoring because he can't respond. I ain't even know you wrote me. What are you talking about? Everybody has a ton of different ancestors, bro. If you go back to the 1500s. If you go back to the 1500s, that's not tens of thousands of ancestors. Somebody need the ancestor chart. Somebody get this man an ancestor chart. Somebody send it to him in a DM. Because if you go back to the 1500s, that's not tens and thousands of ancestors. And everybody don't have a ton of different ancestors. You know, you can't speak for everybody because you haven't talked to a billion people on earth. You can only speak for yourself and your ancestors. So there's your answer. All right. So now, see, I'll just say it, Felanius, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fuck. But anyways, just get back to the reading historical documents, right? You know what I'm saying? Just get back to reading historical documents, some shit that these niggas is allergic to, right? Let me go ahead and escort him out, right? He got 51 followers, 299 following. Yeah, TikTok, y'all gotta send some better niggas than that. But anyways, just keep going though. So let's keep going. So among them was the first Afro-American maroon. The first Afro-American maroon. The first Afro-American maroon. An anonymous slave who escaped to the Indians, the Arawaks, to the mountainous interior soon after setting foot in the New World. Among them was the first Afro-American maroon. An anonymous slave who escaped to the Indians in the mountainous interior soon after setting foot in the New World. In Western Hispaniola, where the French established Colonial Saint Domingo, and in the interior of Spanish territory that eventually became the Dominican Republic, maroonage sustained a liberation atmosphere. From the first years of slavery on the island, Indians and black slaves, who is these black slaves, y'all? It's 65 people in here. Just get 65 reposts going and just get 65 answers going. Who is these black slaves again, y'all? They said Indians and black slaves. Who's these black slaves is? Okay. Because they want y'all to think, you know, you said Ladinos, Sephardics, Moors. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just making sure it's registering because, you know, they want you to think it's some random Nigerian nigga. They want you to think it's some random Gambina. They want you Congolese. You know what I'm saying? They want you to think of some random ass modern African. Fuck no, man. We talking about Ladinos and Indians. The real so-called African diaspora. All right? So it was Indians and black slaves. Indians, copper-colored, so-called black slaves, Ladinos. Come on, man. Visual. A visual. They said it was a maroonage. They said when the first so-called Afro-American set foot in the West Indies, he ran to the mountains with the Indians. Then you start getting into these maroonage, right? The maroonage, right? Indians and so-called black slaves who are Sephardics and Moors. Sephardics, Moors, and Indians living together, fighting together, having babies together. And the baby is also dark-skinned. I'm just saying, man, look, y'all shouldn't have whitewashed history. That's all I'm saying. Y'all shouldn't have whitewashed history because this shit about to come back and bite y'all in the ass. And shout out to all my light-skinned brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? What's happening, Crimson Chin? Shout out to all my light-skinned brothers and sisters. Shout out to all my mixed cousins of lighter skin tone. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all for rocking with us and fighting with us. You feel me? Because the other motherfuckers just be hating on a nigga. You feel me? But y'all on the right side of history. We on the right side of history. And we gonna fix things and we gonna put it back to how it was. We ain't number one big-ass family that they separated. Unity is in numbers. And it's time for us to get that shit right back together. That's why I don't give a fuck what your skin tone is. As long as you got that Indian in your blood, you got that Sephardi, that Moor in your blood, and you fighting the good fight with your brothers and sisters, I rock with you. I don't give a fuck what your skin tone is. I ain't Walter Plecker. I ain't racist. I ain't colorist. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not. I'm a realist. Most of the niggas that hate us on that app, it ain't even light-skinned people. If y'all been paying attention, a lot of y'all been on TikTok for years. Most of the people that hate us on this app, it ain't even light-skinned people. It ain't even our mixed cousins. It's niggas. It's niggas. I done battled and debunked more niggas than natives on this goddamn app. At first, it started off with natives, but these niggas took over, nigga. Look at it. Look. When we talk about intertribal wars, mixed bloods and pure bloods, that still go for the dark-skinned niggas. Y'all automatically think mixed bloods. Y'all automatically think pale skin straight hair when people say mixed and all that other shit. Y'all not even thinking about the other side. You can be mixed with a black Anglo-Saxon and a black Indian. You can be mixed with a black Anglo-Saxon, a black Turk or a black Mongolian and mix with a motherfucking African or a black European or some shit like that. Mix is broad. That shit don't necessarily just mean pale skin and straight hair. Y'all got to stop thinking that. Just like how we got to stop thinking when they say immigration, y'all got to stop thinking Latinos and Hispanics and all that. You know what I'm saying? When I hear immigration, I think white folk. It's crazy how they programmed you to think like that, right? It's crazy how they programmed you to think the word immigration and you equate that to Hispanics and Latinos. Just like when they say slave, motherfuckers think of you. Don't nobody think of white people though, with none of those labels. Even though we know white folks were slaves, even though we know white people are immigrants too, for some reason, ICE ain't looking for white folks. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that they talking about deportation and immigration? ICE ain't even looking for white immigrants. Them niggas is too busy stopping dark-skinned niggas and our cousins. Man, y'all better understand what the Anglosphere is. Understand what the Anglosphere is. It's a real thing. It's called Anglosphere. It's called the Anglosphere. It is just another term for white supremacy. Okay? Research the Anglosphere. Understand all your presidents are Anglo-Saxons. Biden, Anglo. George Bush, Anglo. Bill Clinton, Anglo. All these niggas is Germanic motherfuckers, descendants of Germanic parents and Ellis Island motherfuckers. I'm telling you. Y'all be thinking Caucasians all day long. I be thinking about Germany, nigga. I'm keeping it real. Not Anglosphere, you know, like atmosphere, but Anglosphere, SHEP, some shit like that. Y'all don't get me spelling. I'm smoking the letters right now. But Anglosphere. What's in that dream? Peace. Thank y'all for the gifts, man. I appreciate it. I get made fun of sometimes because I'm light skinned. Yeah. Colorism is bullshit. Nah, facts. Yeah, sphere. Yep, there you go, Sean Bay. Yep, research that right there. Anglosphere. It's gonna lead you down a whole new rabbit hole. It's gonna open up a lot of eyes too. It's gonna let y'all know that this is some dramatic shit. For real. When I researched and I learned that the Anglos was behind a lot of this shit, and I learned what the Anglos and who the Anglos was, I was like, damn, they got us looking at the Caucasus Mountains, nigga. We need to be looking at Germany, nigga. These Germanic motherfuckers. I'm not saying that the Caucasus Mountains is off, you know what I'm saying, off the hook, but I'm just saying most of these niggas is Germanic descendants. These niggas come from Germany. Yeah, Teutonic tribes, all these nomadic cold living motherfuckers. But let's keep going though, because this shit about to get real deep, and I got another source that I want to crack open real quick before it get too late. So, among them was the first Afro-American maroon, an anonymous slave who escaped to the Indians, right, the Arawaks, to the mountainous interior soon after setting foot in the New World. In Western Hispaniola, where the French established Colonial Saint Domingo, and in the interior of the Spanish territory that eventually became Dominican Republic, maroonage sustained the liberation atmosphere. From the first years of slavery on the island, Indians and Ladinos had ran away in inaccessible mountains. Indians and Ladinos ran away to inaccessible mountains. And throughout the colonial period, every mountain in Haiti was used at one time or another by fugitive Ladinos. So running to the mountains is something that the Ladinos did a lot when they was coming over here with the Indians. Okay? The Puerto Rican historian Jalil Sud-Bedelo, okay, documents the processes of slavery or self-liberation, right? Or the Semarronage, right? Semarron, Seminoles, right? Self-liberation and indigenous and Ladino rebellion, right? They say black, but I'm filling in because we know what black is now, right? Ladinos. So indigenous and Ladino rebellion and the consequences for people in Europe, Africa, and the New World in meticulous detail. In Puerto Rico Negro, or Black Puerto Rico, he documents the first active indigenous Ladino revolution in 1514. Okay. He documented the first active indigenous and Ladino revolution in 1514 on the island. The Moors was enslaving the Indians. Oh, dirty Moors. Moors was enslaving the Indians. Oh. How the fuck is the Moors enslaving the Indians when the Moors and the indigenous is leading all your famous so-called black revolutions? All right, I keep going. On the island of Puerto Rico, in this revolt, 2 Arawakan chiefs or caciques and their people allied with Ladinos. The Arawaks allied with the Ladinos, right? Right? They say black. We know black is Ladino. Sephardics and Moors, black people, right? El Negro, right? Black, Ladinos, right? Okay. All right. These ain't no random ass Africans like they want you to think. Okay. They want you to think that these some random ass Africans, but they not. Just why random ass Africans don't know shit. But let's keep going though. Right? How can the Moors be enslaving the Indians when the Moors and the Indians are leading all your famous black revolutions under a lot of different names, right? Maroons, Sid Maroons, or it turns into Seminoles, right? The core Anglosphere countries, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Yup, facts. Sean Bay doing his research right now. He said, nigga, I'm about to look this shit up right now. Nah, facts, you right. Yeah. That's the core of the Anglosphere. United Kingdom, United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. All right. Mm-hmm. So they allied with the Ladinos, right? So the indigenous allied with the Ladino rebels to fight actively against the governmental representatives of the Spanish crown. Who was fighting against the Spanish crown? Indians and Ladinos. Why would the Moors be fighting against the Spanish crown? Shit, duh. The Spanish crown is the one who kicked the Moors out and was doing all this crazy shit to them, right? Hell yeah, they want their get back. Hell yeah, I want my get back. I gotta get my lick back. I got to get my lick back. So yeah, we definitely gonna link up with the Indians and fight these goddamn Spanish crown niggas, right? The Catholic and Christian niggas, right? The Jesuit niggas. All right. So this was the beginning of the Maroons in Puerto Rico. The indigenous and the Ladinos is the beginning of the Maroons in Puerto Rico. What makes a Maroon and what creates a Maroon community? Ladinos, Sephardics and Moors, and Indians. Sue Badelio also documents a second major uprising in 1531 involving the enslaved black population, which now we know this black population are Ladinos, so it involves the enslaved Ladino population. This represented a greater threat to the colonizers because the number of Ladinos had increased while the white population had decreased. He argues, Subedillo and Lopez Cantos, that relatively little attention has been paid to these initial uprisings because the Spanish conquerors publicly supported the capture of so-called cannibals or Arawakans as substitutes for costly Ladino slaves. The Caribs were regarded as captives of just war, whereas Ladino slaves or black slaves were regarded as inferior beings. In retaliation for the Black Puerto Rican uprising or the Ladino Puerto Rican uprising, the church and the crown accused freed and enslaved Ladino men and women of sorcery and witchcraft. A little Santeria, huh? Okay. In 1591, 4 enslaved women were strange fruited and burned in the outskirts of San Juan. Damn. In 1522, black people, or Ladinos, revolted in St. Domingo, the major city of Hispaniola. Quote, some 40 slaves work in the sugar mill on the plantation of the governor. Admiral Diego Columbus, the son of the explorer, conspired with other blacks or Ladinos working on nearby establishments. Thereafter, revolt was oblique to the Caribbeans and the mainland of South and Central America. Okay. Whew. Shout out to everybody that's in here, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. So y'all kind of understanding, right? Y'all kind of understanding what this who the African is now. Y'all getting like a clearer picture of colonial times, you know, a picture being painted that you probably never heard of before. You know, it's very interesting to you, you know, to learn this part of history. Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody that's in here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let me hit the paper plane real quick before we keep going. This is the last page that I'm going to talk about on blackness in the Latin and Caribbean Americas, and then we're going to jump to the next book real quick. Because this was just to help everybody who never heard of Ladinos and all this other stuff to understand, okay? So now, the thinks of the African diaspora, primarily in terms of the Black Atlantic, right? One comes to the deal heavily, right? Remember the African diaspora, right? Ladinos, okay? Primarily terms of Black Atlantic. One comes to deal heavily with the escalation of slavery in British, French, and Dutch dominions. Such immersion in slavery and literature is essential, but it can lead the scholar of Western historical orientation to view blackness itself primarily in terms of Northern European, African, colonial colonist dynamics of profit and slavery. God damn, that was a mouthful. Excuse me, y'all. They said primarily in terms of Northern European, African colonial colonist dynamics of profit and slavery. It can eschew attention away from the Spanish and Portuguese domination situations of the 15th and 16th century, restricting modernity not only to Northern Europe, but also to later colonial centuries. Such as a view also take relationship between black people and indigenous people, right? Ladinos and indigenous people as virtually non-intersecting. This is the way much Western history has presented present materials that are the substance of the essays that issue. This introduction together with the essay seeks to correct this perspective. So they're telling you in your westernized McGraw-Hill book, when they try to tell you that black people and indigenous people wasn't even mixing like that, they wasn't hanging around, they lying. Because as we're reading, they're trying to substitute that narrative with a Northern European African idea. Okay? But they just told you that the white folk came last. Or they came later. It's very dark skin right now, right? That's why they got to correct this perspective. So we choose in this works to open the issues bound to so-called blackness by implications in some specifications to those bound to indigenousness. We do so the present information drawn from serious ethnography, undertakes in diaspora regions adjacent to the curriculum Atlantic system proper. There are two primary reasons for this. The first is that the area of our immediate and opening concern is not well known in African diaspora studies. Okay. The second is that this region is of enormous importance to diaspora studies. What diaspora? Ladinos. So the people that be screaming African diaspora don't even know. They'll figure it out. Anyways, they'll figure it out. All right. So providing, as it does, a rich source of information on the dynamics of so-called blackness in the context of colonial, Republican, not democratic, and contemporary nation-state struggles for identity, freedom, and democracy. Okay. In so much as the region is undergoing attention to the substance of our central concern in the 1990s, we try now to contextualize previous works. In 1975, Norman Whitten and Nina S.D. Friedman drew together material on the culture and history of a significant sector of this region. Both of them had undertaken serious ethnography. Whitten in the Pacific lowlands of Ecuador and Colombia, and Friedman in various regions of Colombia. They pulled materials on so-called blackness in Colombia and Ecuador together and published them in the extended article, quote, Black Culture of the Ecuadorian Colombian Lateral, unquote, which they published in the Revista Colombiana Antropologa, which I probably butchered, but it's all good. In this presentation, they used the figure of speech La Cultura Negra, but so doing, they sought to draw academic attention not only to the important cultural region known as the Pacific Lowland Cultural Area, extended from the Darien, which is Panama, province of Panama, south through the Colombian departments of Chuco, Vallejo, and Cuca, okay, and the Ecuadorian province of Esmeralda, but also to the cultural potential for ethnic pride that emerged from sustained ethnography. That work stressing so-called Black culture in a professional Latin American anthropological journal marked the transition point in Latin America and North American scholarship applied to African American peoples of Latin America. Damn, I thought African American was only about United States. Boy, FBA, shit, right? They said Black culture, right? It's so-called Black culture transition point in Latin America and North America scholarship applied to African American peoples of Latin America. Okay. Upon until the early 1960s, the few Afro-Latin American studies that existed provide data-rich, small-scale ethnography suspended in time and in ethnographic present. Such studies were treated to historical distribution analysis to determine the number of complexity of African traits, so-called African traits. But what is these African traits, though? Right? What would these African traits be of this African diaspora? Well, I haven't Bluetooth a few of my pictures over, but I can describe them to you. When they talk about this so-called African culture, but we know that this African diaspora is the Ladinos, Sephardics, and Moors. Think about this. When you go to Latin America, when Latin America celebrate the Spanish heritage, right, or Iberian, they dress up in Iberian attire. Okay, you can research it, right? In Latin America, they dress up in Iberian attire, right? A lot of the music, a lot of the food, you know what I'm saying? It's no different with Black America. In North America, we do the same shit. We dress up in Ladino attire too, and you don't even know it. For real. Even us in Black America, you dress up in Ladino attire and you don't even know it. You don't know it. Let me help you out. let me help you out with this Ladino attire that we still wear. It's 67 people in my life. Some of y'all are women. Right now, y'all got y'all hair wrapped up in a turban right now. Say that I'm lying. 69 people in here. Some of y'all women, some of y'all watching my live with y'all hair wrapped up in a turban right now. Got your hair wrap on. Fellas, got your do-rag on? Silk, right? Huh? Okay. All right. Why you think you like wearing sweatpants? Nah, real shit. Why you think you like wearing sweatpants? Go back and look at old Moors and old Sephardic pictures. And they got these baggy parachute pants, and some of them pants be looking like joggers of today and shit. You be like, damn, hold on, nigga, what the fuck? Yeah, that's why you like wearing baggy shit. That's why you like wearing sweatpants, joggers. They make clothes because they know what your culture is, and they know that you're going to buy it because you are attracted to your culture. Even though they erased your culture from the books, you still do it. You just don't know you're doing it. Right? Now here's the beauty about the Ladino and the indigenous culture. When you combine it, you take the joggers and the sweatpants of the Ladinos, and you take the poncho of the Indians, which is now a hoodie, and guess what you got? You got a Nike sweatsuit. And I got one on right now. I got a hoodie on, which is a poncho. I got some joggers on. That's what happened when you blend the culture. You create something even better. And they know that. That's why they use you. This is why our culture is everywhere. It's very influential. Because who we descend from have always been the blueprint of the world. The people that we descend from have always been the blueprint of the world. Moors, Sephardics, Indians. These are the three main people that spread civilization. Of course, they don't want you to acknowledge where you come from. Come on. It's crazy because I don't like how jeans feel. I prefer joggers. Me too, Lou. I don't really wear jeans like that. My closet is full of sweatpants and joggers and hoodies and shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna do you another one, another example. Why you think you like wearing slides? Yeah, nah, real shit. Yeah, bro. Yeah, we like tennis shoes, Jordans and shit. But I guaranteed you, if we can wear slides all day, we would. Slides, house shoes, Debos. Debos and house shoes ain't nothing but another form of a moccasin. That's where the idea of the house shoes and Debos come from, moccasins. Go look at moccasins and go look at house shoes. Okay. You talk about Nike slides and slippers. That's what niggas wear, you know what I'm saying, over there in North Africa and in Iberia. Slides. You'll find, come on, man, oh baby all night. Like, come on, man. Your culture. It's just what it is. This is just what it is. I'm telling you. I got Nike slides on right now with some joggers and shit. Real cultural. Now you understand why these clothes look good on us. Because it comes from your culture. Right? See, when everybody else put the Nike sweatpants on, the Nike tracksuit, you know, when other people wear the shit, you be like, all right, you know, nah. But something about Black Americans, or, you know, just us, from the West Indies to North America, to our brothers and sisters in South America who get real fly on niggas. It's something about us in these clothes that just make it flyer. You be like, damn. Shit, when that shit get on you, and this is why they hate you too. I'm telling you some real shit. This is why they hate you, because they see it just like we see it. Right? When they got this, look, I'm telling you some real shit. Right? When a motherfucker, look, when a nigga tried to put this damn Egyptian hat on, ain't nobody really believe this shit. I ain't gonna lie. Even when I was a kid, I ain't believe this shit. That's why we used to draw on this nigga face. Y'all know y'all used to draw on this nigga face. Page 10. Right? We all done drew on this nigga face. We all bad, you know, we drawing all type of crazy shit. And it probably, man, look, we ain't about to go that far on TikTok. They was fucking this nigga bad face up, look. We knew this was bullshit. We was like, bro, stop playing with us. This nigga don't even look right with the attire. He don't even look right. And then when the Arabs be trying to pretend to be the Egyptians, they don't look right in this shit either. You know who look right in that shit? Melanated people. Melanated people, a motherfucker that look like me, you, a Sudanese, Nubian, you know what I'm saying? We look like that shit because, come on, bro, stop playing. We the Nagas. This white man ain't no Naga. This nigga wasn't even around in ancient Egypt. Matter of fact, am I lying? Somebody correct me. He wasn't even around in ancient Egypt, nigga. What the fuck? He came with, like, the white man popped up around like the 6th, 7th dynasty. Like, damn, nigga, you way down there. You know, nigga popped up around that time. But everybody else before then, Nichols, Nagas. You know what I'm saying? He knew. That's his Egyptian name. Lil, that's his Egyptian name. He knew. Cause he needs some new niggas. TBT was saying it. Man. But we knew this shit when, you know, we look good in all this shit. That's why they hate it. We even look good in feathers and shit. The natives definitely hate that shit. That's why they be trying to, they're taking our culture, the feathers and shit, because we look better than them in their own shit. Even though some of that feather costume shit ain't ours, we still look better than them in that shit. You know, we still look better than them, nigga. Like, come on, bro. We be putting that shit on. We be putting that shit on. Man, we look good in anything. I'm telling you, come on, bro. Man, we look good in Egyptian gear. You feel me? Man, we look good in Egyptian gear. Man, we look good in American Indian attire. Man, we look good in goddamn European attire. Man, look at this Ladino. Look at this Ladino, man. We even look good in this shit. You know, we even look good in the European attire. My nigga got that shit on. He got the coat. What's happening before all peace? You know, he got the coat hanging on the shoulders, real pimp like. You feel me? Real player got the hat tilt to the side like T.I. nigga. You know, he got the quarter zip on with the banjo. My nigga is up here serenading his love. He out here playing the hell out of that banjo, serenading his wife. Look at her, she all in love with the nigga. She like, yeah. The baby like, daddy. Come on, man, stop playing. We swagged out. We look good in all this shit. We look good in Egyptian shit, European shit, Indian shit, Asian shit. That's because we the blueprint to the shit. It came from niggas. It came from niggas. I'm just being real. No hate, no racism. But just understand where the blueprint come from. Understand where you get your swag and your drip from. Right? If you are our cousins, right? Shout out to my mixed cousins out there. Now y'all know where y'all get y'all drip from. You know, you get it from your melanated ancestors. Cause ain't no white man dressing like this. Come on, white man don't even look good in no shit like this. They'll try to paint a white man on this. Come on, bro. Stop playing. White people ain't got no drip. White people ain't got no drip. Them niggas be wearing duck shoes and Dockers. For real. Hey, I get, look, I ain't never been to none of y'all jobs. And there's 67 people, and I know everybody from different states and cities. I can guarantee you, the white people at your job, just like the white people at my job, them niggas got them Docker khakis on, got the white polo tucked in with the belt. You know what I'm saying? They probably got some New Balances on. Some Skechers maybe, because they be on their feet all day. Tell me I'm lying. They all dressed the same fucking way. They ain't got no swag. Them niggas came here in Ellis Island all wearing black suits. Nigga ain't got no swag. They ain't got no swag. Everybody had black suits and umbrellas coming off. Nigga was looking like they just left a funeral or some shit. And nigga, who died? All of Europe. God damn. Shit. Stop playing, man. We got that swag, bro. You said we ain't got white people at my job, but I do have a Mexican. You silly as hell. Oh, man. I'm just being real. It's the scarf for you. Yeah, Lola, he got that scarf on. He rocking that. He rocking that right there. Mm-hmm. So P-Gang. So now I just go ahead and get to this other book, because I just want to refresh our memory while we get into this other book, because this book mentioned Estevan, right? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. This book mentioned Estevan. All right. It mentioned Estevan, right? Estevan, a black man, Azamor, Morocco. He was a Moor, right? He was a Ladino. Peace, Mondukes. Chubby in the building, right? Talking about Estevan, black man, Ladino, a Moor. They got a statue of him, right? A lot of y'all probably don't know. They got a statue of him, right? Very El Negro. Okay. Swagged out. Okay. Right. We talking about Estevan. So now, real quick backdrop on Estevan real quick. All right. Let me give y'all a quick synopsis on him before we dive. For those that don't know. So Estevan was a Moroccan-born enslaved man, right? The first African to explore the American Southwest. Stop. The book we just got done reading, right? Ladino, African diaspora, Sephardic, Moor, Estevan the Moor from North Africa. Remember what I've been telling y'all and teaching y'all? Okay, makes sense. All right, let's go. Right, the African, quote unquote, right? The first so-called African, right? But he's a Ladino, Moor, right? From North Africa, Morocco. And a significant figure in early North American history. Known for surviving the disastrous Pelafalo del Norvid expedition from 1528 to 1536, and later guiding expeditions, becoming the first Ladino or African to set foot in what is now Arizona and New Mexico, and interacting with the Pueblo people before his unaliving. He was a skilled communicator, valued for his knowledge of indigenous cultures, and is remembered as a pivotal early African American figure. What is this African American? What are they hiding? They're hiding something with that term African American, because I've been on live. Hold on, y'all. Because we've been on live for a little minute now, right? We've been on live for about an hour, 45 minutes. Every time we see African American, it's always right next to Ladino and Moor in Sephardic. Every time we seen it. Every time we see this so-called African American, is right next to Ladino and Moor, right? And then they'll say Afro American. You dig what I'm saying? So they say he a black man. First so-called African, African, right? Ladino, Moor, Morocco, North African. But then they say he's an early African American figure. Why would a Ladino Moor from Morocco be a pivotal African American figure? And then, how do he know all this knowledge of indigenous cultures if this is his first time in America? How was he a skilled communicator talking to the Indians and have knowledge of indigenous cultures if this is his first time in America, as they say? Uh-oh, I was waiting for somebody to catch it. Because Sephardics and Moors are from America. Nah, Morocco is not in America. Morocco is over there, where they say it's at, right? But when you dealing with Sephardics and Moors, you dealing with people that's older than Morocco. All right, we got to stop equating Moors to Morocco. There's a lot of other different places, but what they're saying, and what I'm getting at, is that Moors, Sephardics, and Indians are all the same people. This is why inside that document called Making Indians White, they told you what? The Indian and the African were indistinguishable. We couldn't tell them apart. It also told you that the so-called African, who we know are Ladinos, Sephardics, and Moors, they blended in with the indigenous population. Now, those are two facts that came from a document called Making Indians White. Now, here's two things. One, what the hell did the Indians look like if the Sephardics and Moors, who are so-called black people or Negroes, was blending in? And then they was indistinguishable. So who the hell is the niggas on the reservation? Who is the people on the reservation? When I look at these niggas on the reservation calling us wabos and shit, them niggas don't look like goddamn Negroes. They said that the Negroes blended in with the Indians. They also said that the Indians and the Negroes, or the Africans, they're indistinguishable. This is why the Indians had to carry certificates in cars of proof of identity of them being Indians, because they was indistinguishable from the Ladinos and the Moors. That don't sound like Red Road Warrior. That don't sound like Joya. That don't sound like Nuke. That don't sound like none of these niggas. You know who that shit do sound like, though? That shit sound like you. That sound like me. Huh? Mm. They said that the Africans, who we know now by historical documents and in books and context, that these was Ladinos, Sephardics, and Moors. They said they looked like the Indians. They was indistinguishable. Mm. They said they was indistinguishable. They said they was indistinguishable. This is a Mauritanian woman. Now, if she was to come over here, I'm pretty sure that she can blend in with us. See, they don't show you these Africans that got your facial features that resemble you, right? They don't show these Mauritanians, these Berbers, these Amazigs. When you do a basic Google research, and I hate when niggas be doing this shit to me to try to prove me wrong, they'll be like, Berbers and Amazigs are white people. Look, the Berbers are white. Right? No, they not. I hate when people do that Google research shit. The Berbers, Mauritanians, white people. No, they not. Those niggas is Caucasian. You know where these niggas come from. Look at them. They come from the same place the ones from over here come from. Stop trying to make them niggas African, bro. Them niggas ain't that. The real Berbers and Amazigh and Tuaregs and Mauritanians is still there. They still there. Most of them ain't even Muslim. They still practice their serpent religion. Oh, they have a serpent religion. Who else have serpent religions? They still have their ancient alphabet, which looks like Phoenician. They have a flag called a Yaz, which resembles an Arawakan indigenous symbol as well, too. Y'all know I don't talk out my ass. I'm keeping it real. These people said that the so-called African, who we know are Moors and Sephardics, Berbers, Tuaregs, right? North Africans, right? Estevan and shit, right? They blended in with the Indians. And they was indistinguishable. So this is a Mauritanian, right? Look at her. Okay? This is the Indian. All right? That was the Mauritanian. This is the Indian. Matter of fact, let me... Here we go. The Indian. Give you a 3-for-1. I give you a 3-for-1. Showed you the Mauritanian woman. Now I'm showing you the American Indian actress, Kimberly, and then the Philippine woman, Negrita. But they want you to think that these ain't the same people. They want you to think these ain't the same people. Huh? They want you to think that y'all are Nigerian or some shit. We don't even look like Nigerians. We don't look like none of these Africans they be trying to say we look like. The only ones that resemble us is the ones in North Africa. The ones that I'm showing you, Mauritanians. The Algerians, those Afro-Asiatic people. We don't look like no Nigerians. We don't look like no Gambinians. No, we don't look like none of them. You can spot them niggas down the damn street. No hate, no racism, just keeping it real. If you're gonna compare us to anybody, it'll be the Pacific Islanders. Just keeping it real. If you're gonna compare us to anybody, it'll be Pacific Islanders. Because that's who we literally look like. All right, y'all already seen pictures of my grandmama. She looked just like a Philippine woman too, but she from Mississippi. All right. Come on. It's another reason why. And before I get back into the book, this is another reason why when y'all read that book called From Chinos to Indians, stop being racist with it and think about history. The Chinos to Indian is proof. They was bringing Chinese people here to be Indians. Yeah, and they was bringing a lot of Negritos here first. Before they was bringing Bruce Lee and little Su Young over here, they was bringing all the Aboriginal Pacific Islanders first. Negritos, Papua New Guineans, the Tasmanian, Andaman Islanders when they could. You know what I'm saying? South Koreans, Taiwanese. You know what I'm saying? Even when you talk about Japan, Nagasaki, Hiroshima. See, you gotta think like that. You gotta think simultaneously when you're trying to break down and decode history. You can't just think one way and be racist because you don't like what the fuck another motherfucker say about you. You're African. Where, nigga? You Chinese, nigga. Look at the book called Chinos to Indians. They was bringing you niggas by the boatload. That's not what that book really tells you. You gotta really read it. Look, man, you niggas came from Japan. Shit, some of you niggas came from Japan, and I do mean niggas. Some of y'all probably descend from the Nagasaki's, the Hiroshima niggas. Some of y'all probably descend from the Philippines with the Negritos. You don't know, right? From Chinos to Indians, right? But in reality, though, they have always been Indians because East Indies, East Indians, West Indians, mainland Indians, we all Indians. We all Indians. But I'm just saying, though, some of y'all ancestors probably came from over there in the Pacifics. And when they came here, they became Indians. And then your ass is saying that you Indian because that's all you know, because that's all they know. You don't know. You don't know. We know about as much oral family history as we're told, and then whatever the genealogy can tell us. But after a while, when you hit a certain point in genealogy, it's names. There is no more story. Some might got a little something there. Others, you got to try and piece that shit together with history books. But we can't sit here and act like that the niggas on the reservation is the only motherfuckers from China and Asia. Oh, so now the Chinese ain't black people now? Y'all know I like to play devil's advocate with everything because I'm really trying to break this colorism and racism programming that's in everybody's minds. It's amazing how we say the Chinese and the Asian is all niggas and black people. Until it's time to call other pale-skinned, straight-haired people Asians and Chinese people. Y'all got to make y'all minds up. Y'all got to make y'all minds up with this shit, bro. That's all I'm saying. You said, what's the name of the book? From Chinos to Indians? Yeah, they moved to Tasmanians, bro. A lot of the Tasmanians is over here in America. This is why a lot of people look like Tasmanians. The Tasmanians did not go extinct. They brought a lot of Tasmanians over here in America. This is why a lot of us got uncles. Maybe you might seen the nigga at the corner store. Your nigga might look like a Australoid or Tasmanian nigga ask you for some change and shit. You like, damn, bro. Damn near like an Australianoid nigga, the fucking Tasmanian. Nigga. Look at your face, boy. You got hair everywhere. Nah, but for real though. So, big game. But that book is, man. But let's get back into it though. Let's get back to it. I don't want to be hung up on one thing real quick. So we talking about Estevan though. Okay. I'm just breaking down Estevan to y'all real quick. Okay. right? And it says it down there, right? Esteban de Moor at the bottom, right? Esteban de Moor. He was an enslaved North African who became a vital guide, interpreter, and explorer. They said that this Moor, this North African, is a pivotal early African-American figure. African-American, huh? Figure, right? Moor, North Africa, right? Put it together. Right? His journeys, right? He had one expedition in 1528, Norvides. He was part of an ill-fated expedition to Florida, shipwrecked on the golf course, and enslaved by Native Americans. Okay, was that cool? Right? He was enslaved by Native Americans or Indians, right? He was enslaved by Indians in Florida. His second journey, the Great Trek, in 1528 to 1536. After years of captivity, he escaped with 3 other survivors, including Calzita de Vaca, and journeyed across Texas and southwest to Mexico, becoming the first African to transverse these lands. Okay. Then Coronado expedition in 1539. He was chosen to lead the reconnaissance mission for Fray Marcos into Southwest, becoming the first non-native to enter present-day Arizona and New Mexico. Okay, his legacy is the first African to explore the American Southwest, first to enter Arizona and New Mexico, and a significant figure in African American history. Again, why would this Moor, who's from North Africa, Morocco, who is a Ladino, why would he be a significant figure in African American history? All right, and he got a statue. All right, very dripped out. Okay, big drip. All right, these are questions that has to be answered. So just keep going. So, and here's his route that they was just talking about, right? From St. Domingo or Dominican Republic to Haiti, through Cuba, up to Florida, shipwrecked, crossed over the Mississippi Delta, Galveston, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico as well too. So this is the route that they say. So now the book that we get into is a book that I've been sitting on for like 3 years. Okay. This is a book I've been sitting on for like 3 years. It's time to bring it out. So now we know Indian, copper colored, we know Ladino, we know all of that. Let's get into it. So, Negro Companions of the Spanish Explorers, what this book is called. If y'all want to screenshot it, I'll leave it here for a second. But it's called Negro Companions of the Spanish Explorer. Shout out to everybody that's in here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Go get y'all screenshots. Put this joint out. This joint been burning for like 2 hours, y'all. Y'all, I'm not even capping, bro. I've been smoking this same joint for like 2 hours. I sparked this motherfucker at the beginning of the live. This motherfucker. Shit. I'll put that bitch out for a minute. Fuck. Man, look. That's them raw papers. I just noticed that shit too when I looked down. I was like, damn, bro, I'm still smoking that motherfucker, bro. Put that bitch out. They say that for the morning or something on the way to work. I'll break this hot box real quick. Yeah, raw papers. And that's all I use. I don't use nothing else. Shit, I stopped using swishers. I stopped using swishers probably like 8-9 years ago. I've been strictly papers. Paper plane, cones and all. The elements be fire too. Yep. The elements, I think the elements is made out of rice or something like that. Yep. I like the elements. Was that it, Big Rico? Jay, was that it? So, yep, them rice papers be hitting. Got to be able to taste the gas. Yeah, man, that's why I fuck with papers. Nothing but the gas. So, Negro Companions of the Spanish Explorers by R.R. Wright. The fact seems to be well established that Negroes were introduced into the New World with the first discoverers and explorers. Indeed, there is evidence which leads to the... Hold on. Indeed, there is evidence which leads to the surmise that some of the pre-Columbians may have been Negroes as well. Peter Martyr, a learned historian and acquaintance of Columbus, mentions, quote, a region not 2 days' journey from Quaqua territory in the Darien district of South America, where the Balboa illustrates discoverers of Pacific Ocean finds a race of black men who were conjectured, right? For those who don't know, conjecture means guessing, all right? When, you know, that's what conjecture means, right? So they're guessing that these black men in pre-Columbian times came from Africa, right? They shipwreck on the coast. In connection with this statement, may be noted a report of the Bureau of Ethnology, which describes, quote, early American pottery with the physiognomies of decided African lineaments, unquote, right? They saying that they got Negro faces and shit. The late Justin Windsor stated in the paper or the letter to Wright that, quote, there is a possible chance that at some early time the ocean currents may have swept across the Canaries in the African coast canoes of the Gueches and other African tribes from which the considerable strand of Negro blood may have mixed with the pre-Columbian people of the tropical areas, right? Tropical areas, right? Pre-Columbian, right? Copper-colored people, right? All right. So that's one fact right there. So right there, they already telling you it's melanated and melanated. We're going to keep it gutter, keep it moving. So, right? That man said backwoods. Oh, man, Memnon. No, sir. So now, it's dropped down a little bit. So now that Columbus was disposed from the government of the Indies, and he may probably himself have been cognizant of the fact that Negro slaves had been introduced into the new Spanish possessions, but there seemed to be no positive evidence either way as to the great admiral's attitude towards the introduction of African slavery to the New World, right? Ladinos. There is a letter of Columbus in which he refers to Negroes of Guinea, and it is known that he gave an Indian slave to Lacass's father. But all beyond this seems to be mere surmise. The year 1501 is the date of the earliest reference in American history to Negroes coming from Spain to America. We're going to stop right there. That right there already puts a hole in the slave narrative. That already puts a hole in the slave narrative. What are they talking about? The first African slave, 1619. Cap. And these are Ladinos, but cap. Right? It's 1501. Right? Negroes was coming from Spain to America. Well, we know they was coming from Spain to America in 1501, right? These are Ladinos being exiled. So-called El Negro, black people, right? Okay. Sir Arthur Helps in his Spanish conquest in America states that in the year mentioned, instructions were given to the authorities that while Jews, Moors, and new converts were not to be permitted to go to the Indies or to remain there, quote, Negroes born in the power of Christians were to be allowed to go to the Indies, and the officers of the royal revenue were to receive the money to be paid for these permits, right? So they saying that only converts of Christians, right? Sephardic, right? Sephardics and Moors, right? If they was Christianized, then they can go to the Indies. So this why a lot of them became what? Crypto, right? A lot of them became crypto Jews, crypto Moors, just so they can, you know what I'm saying, escape persecution and come over here. All right, so that is a part of the story. Facts, Pete Gang, right? So these so-called Negroes, right, coming from Spain, not Africa, right? They was coming from Spain, not Africa. And it's conjecture to say that they're African, especially when you know that they are Ladinos. Okay, so on the Spanish paper, it has showed that Negroes at an early date were considered and called, quote, the strength and sinew of the Western world, unquote. The Great Antilles especially had already been crowded with Negroes on the plea that they were sent with a view of facilitating the Christianization, excuse me, and to relieve the toil and suffering of the unfortunate natives. But their evident into the western proportion of America was fraught with a good deal of concern. Before 1530s, there were enough Negroes in Mexico. Let me say that again one time. Before 1530s, there were enough Negroes in Mexico. Who is these Negroes in Mexico? Ladinos, right? Sephardics, Moors, right? Moreno, Vino, Morisco, huh? So I'm only putting emphasis on that because the Mexicans on this app who are racist love to say a nigga is African. But guess what? Your ass is African. Most of y'all mestizos, nigga, y'all come from Africans. Africans, white Spanish, and a little bit of indigenous blood. That's your ancestry that you like to ignore. And the people who probably got the most African ancestors is the ones in Mexico. And when I say African, y'all know what I mean when I'm saying African. But in the context that they like to use it, you guys are African. I'm a real Mexica, an Azteca warrior. Boy, shut your ass up. Yo ass African, nigga. Yo ass African, nigga. There was enough Negroes in Mexico to warrant an attempt of self-liberation from the Spanish yoke. Who started the self-liberation from Spain? The Ladinos, who was fighting the Spanish crown. And they linked up with who? Indigenous people, just like everywhere else. All right? He said, bro, you gonna make me cry. Nah, don't cry, Gigi. Because we know what the so-called African is. But for the racist ones, I like to fuck with them. Because they like to, you know what I'm saying? When they say that we African, you know, they like to pick like horrible pictures of African people, which is fucked up in itself. And like, these are your people. You know, they be like, come on, bro, for real. So, yeah, I know. So Pete Gang though. So their plan, right? We talking about these Negroes from Spain, these Ladinos, these Sephardics, these Moors, right? These Negroes in Mexico, right? Yanga, right? Their plan was to, listen, and don't get in your feelings when I say this, because I'm going to break it down. Their plan was to massacre the Indians friendly to the Spanish. Okay? Listen, their plan, the Ladinos, their plan was to massacre the Indians that were friendly to the Spanish. Remember, Indians friendly. When they say Indians friendly, remember what I taught y'all last year and the year before that? Indio amigo, or friendly Indians, right? Indian conquistadors, right? Remember I taught y'all about the Indian conquistadors? Indio amigo, friendly Indians. Those Indians who helped the Spanish colonize. But I also showed y'all who they was. They wasn't us. Nah, no. See, this is what I'm saying. When they say Indians that are friendly to Spanish, they're talking about the Siberians, the natives on the reservations. We know that they're not Indians, but historical books will still call them Indians. You have to read the context clues to figure out who they talking about. They talking about us or they talking about them? Because we can't forget that they're here too. It's the 1500s. The Navajos then already migrated down, right? The southern, the Ethabaskans, the Nudanays, the Apache, the Navajo, all these niggas is down here now, right? All these are down here now. And a lot of them was helping the Spanish. So remember, the Ladinos were helping the real indigenous people of the land fight the Spanish and the crown. The people that's calling you Wabos, their ancestors fought with the crown. This is why they're federally recognized, right? We were the Confederates. We was against that shit. You dig what I'm saying? So that's why, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to read the context clues, you know what I'm saying? Like, and always remember that the Siberians is down here too. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So when you see Indian friendly or Indio amigo, these are Indian conquistadors, right? And you can research this up, right? These are Indian conquistadors. These were Siberians, or what we call natives on the reservations, right? These are their ancestors who's helping the white Anglo Europeans, right? That's why they said Spanish and not Spaniards, right? Those are two different things. When you talk about the Spanish, you're talking about white Anglo Spanish people. Okay? Peep game. When you see Spaniard, niggas, the original. Okay? Always remember that as well too. All right. Was that in peace? So their plan was to unalive the friendly Indians, the Indian conquistadors to the Spanish, form an alliance with the other Indians. See? That's why y'all gotta, you just gotta let me finish reading real quick. Y'all almost was jumping on my ass. Hold on, Los, what the fuck they were about to do to? Nah. Remember, the Ladinos was helping the real Indians, always. And they was always fighting against the oppressors, okay? So their plan was to unalive the fake Indians, right? The Indian conquistadors, and then form an alliance with the other Indians, the real Indians, okay? And elect a ruler and set up a government for themselves in the city of Mexico. H.H. Bancroft, speaking of this event, says that, quote, the Negros, or Ladinos, neither gave nor accepted quarter, unquote. Their enterprise, however, failed, the ringleaders being betrayed, captured, and executed. In this connection, there is another interesting story of the followers of a certain Bueno, a Negro insurgent captured and sent back to Spain. This Negro was sent back to Spain at Africa. He was sent back to Spain at Africa. Okay. Just want to make sure y'all heard that. So there is, however, some reason for the belief that many of the Negroes or Ladinos imported by the Spaniards, right, the conversos, were not savages or ignorant. In fact, many of them were normally Mohammedans or Spanish Catholics, Ladinos. These wasn't no regular Negroes. These wasn't no regular Africans, right? These were Sephardics and Moors. They was being imported by the conversos, right? The Moors who sold them out, right? Remember? Betrayal, backstab, execution. The conversos, the Moors, and the Moors that flipped Christian. Many of them were Mohammedans or Spanish Catholics. Who were Spanish Catholics? Negroes. Ladino. One writer mentions his Mandingo servant who could write the Arabic language with great beauty and exactness. The Guinea of the Gold Coast Negroes were bold, brave, and liberty-loving, as the history of the Pacific states will attest. Okay? Bandler says that the most interesting period in the history of the discoveries of the American continent was during that part of the 16th century when the efforts of the Spaniards were directed from the already settled coast of the Isthmuses. Okay. All right. Of the Isthmuses. Now, Estevan. Right now we getting into Estevan, right? Remember, gave you a little synopsis. Now we talking about Estevan, right? This page is called The American Anthropologist. So Estevan was born in Azamor, right? Azamor, one of the principal cities of Morocco, Africa, and may be supposed to have been about 28 or 30 years of age when he joined the expedition of Nervius, which sailed from San Lucas, Bermuda, Spain, in June 17, 1527. With the first fleet were 506 persons. After landing on the coast of Florida, they wandered through the country, harassed by the Indians, until they had lost about 240 of their numbers. Then about September 22nd, they set sail in a number of boats in the Gulf of Mexico. Narvaez, as usual, provided a poor leader. Misfortune befell him and his men. At the end of the year, only 4 survived. 3 whites and 1 Negro, Estevan. These 4 men discovered and landed upon the coast of Texas. They strove to keep together so that they might render mutual aid, but find this to be impossible. For 8 years, they wandered among the savages, and it is evident that the Negro manifests fully as much tact and ability as the white men for self-maintenance among the savage and explorations. Each of these unfortunate Spanish wanderers labored as a slave to the Indians, and all finally becoming, quote, medicine men of distinction among the natives. They were reported to have become so expert in the healing the sick that the savages came from great distances to be cured, and crowds followed them from place to place. The black explorer was as successful as his white brothers. He became familiar with the Indian dialect and characteristics, and the experience gained in these 8 years of wandering afterwards proved valuable to him. At the conclusion of their marvelous journey, Estevan's 3 white companions left for Spain, but Estevan remained in Mexico, where he was held in esteem by those who were interested in extending the Spanish dominion. All right. So his white homeboys went back to Spain. Esteban stayed in Mexico with the Indians. They was like, fam, bro, we about to go back home. Esteban was like, nigga, I am home. Pun intended. He was like, I am home. Y'all can go on back. I am home. Okay? So accordingly, it was not long before Esteban was selected as a guide for an expedition into the northern country, a selection which gave him the opportunity of his life. He evidently had a strong ambition to become an explorer and a discoverer, as is shown by the fact that he risked disobedience to instructions in order that he might be the first to find Cibola. The story of the search was for this supposed El Dorado is most interesting, but it is sufficient here to say that though he lost his life, the Negro succeeded in discovering the famous 7 cities of the Zuni Indians of New Mexico. What? They told y'all they never found it. They told you they never found the city of El Dorado. But guess what? It wasn't no white man. It was a Ladino. All right. All right. All right. Man, Esteban, right? El Negro. The boy said prevalent in African American history. I think I'm starting to understand what the African American is, even though African American is a misnomer. I think I'm starting to understand what it is. Esteban the Moor, the Ladino, discovered El Dorado, the 7 cities. The Moor, the Negro, the Ladino. Okay. I'm just saying. They made him a white guy in a Disney movie. Yeah. They made them white men, Arabs, and Turks and shit. If you go back and watch that Disney cartoon, that El Dorado shit, one dude he looked a Mediterranean Arab, and the other one was a white guy, if I'm not mistaken. So, man. So with that being said, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here because I gotta get me something to eat. And I gotta be up at 5 in the morning for work. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in with me. I hope y'all learned something. You know what I'm saying? Hope I connected some dots for y'all. Here. Hold on, y'all. Before we leave, hold on, y'all. I forgot I did have this. When we was talking about the friendly Indians, hold on, y'all. Y'all can get a screenshot of this too. When we was talking about the friendly Indians, this is who they are, right? The friendly Indians, the Indian conquistadors. It's a book down there if y'all want to screenshot it at the bottom right. It's called Indian Conquistadors, Indigenous Allies of the Conquest of the Mesoamerica. So when they talk about these friendly Indians or Indio Amigos or, Indian Conquistadors, Athabascans, Siberians, right? And as you can look, my niggas pointing them to the way, right? At the bottom of the book, right? Showing the white man the way. You see it? Bottom right, showing the white man the way, showing the Anglo the way. Where them niggas at? They over there. snitching and shit. Snitching. Where them niggas at? They over there. They building some shit. For real, yeah. Indian conquistadors. Now you know who the Indian conquistadors is. So, like I said, we know they're not Indians, but in historical books, they will call them Indians. So there will be context clues that let you know who they talking about. When they use words like savages or savage, you know what I'm saying, or Indios, Indio Amigo, or friendly Indians, Indian auxiliary, Indian conquistadors. These are terms that they use to let you know they talking about them other niggas. They not talking about us, right? So just that right there, just to shed light about it. I think I'm gonna blow the dust off of this book and read a little bit to everybody one of these days for the new folks, because I think we only covered it like one or two times. But yeah, so remember, Estevan went to southwestern United States, right? Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. These areas were inhabited by the Athabascans, the southern Athabascans at this time, right? The Navajo, the Apache, and a lot of other different tribes, okay? So, peak game, right? Just want to drop that little gem on y'all before we get up out of here. So, with that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Thank y'all for the likes, the love, the gifts. Y'all already know y'all the real MVPs. I really do appreciate the love and everything like that. Tomorrow we might hop on live, we might not. If we don't hop on tomorrow, you'll definitely see me Wednesday for sure. But I'm gonna try and hop on live tomorrow to finish it up. So with that being said, enjoy y'all day. I'm about to cue up this music. I holla.
Trying to let you know just how I really feel about you.
Bump some of this soul music real quick.
I think I wanna live without you. You keep me laughing, baby girl. It's just something about you that makes me feel like you are special. And every time I see your face, I crack a smile. You warm me up inside, and baby, I'm so happy now. Whenever you call, I blush just like a little child. Could it be that I am falling for you? Passion and romance, chemistry when we hold hands. Your L.O.V.E.'s gotten the best of me. And oh, I love it, I love it, I love it, girl. I love it, I love it, I love it, girl. I love it, I love it, I love it, girl. I'm trying to tell you all the feelings that I have for you. Can't keep them bottled up no more, cause you're so beautiful. My heart's a canvas and you are like the artist, girl.
All right, peace.